Today I'm going to do a video that you guys have, well, probably not expected, but many of you have asked questions about this. Right now I'm in the middle of the day in Japan, and you might be wondering what and how has COVID-19 affected Japan. Well, as you can see, in the middle of the day, in a busy residential area, there's nothing behind me. Well, so far, despite Japan having a very big population, 435 people have died to the virus. I'm in a busy shopping mall right now, and as you can see, everything is completely closed and shut down. I mean, the mall stays open, but only for necessities like the grocery stores. Areas in the shopping center that used to be packed full of stalls are now empty, and everything is barricaded off, as you can see, but people do still come out against best and better judgment. Bakeries that once thrived, of course, are now closed down, and a lot of businesses are the same. They're going to be losing out just the same as you've been seeing other people in other countries losing their jobs over. And despite shopping malls being still accessible, everything is eerily empty and locked off and barricaded. So it's a little interesting feeling. Despite remaining open for business for some select shops, the car parks for these shopping centers often look something like this. In Japan, the holy grail of defense against the dark arts of COVID-19 are face masks. I'm not wearing one, but their effectiveness have been doubted so far. But however, in Japan, of course, you only have 435 deaths so far. So why the panic, you might be wondering? Well, the panic is just a precaution. Japanese people are often very diligent, and they're more than willing to do what they're requested of in order to try and fight off any possible diseases like COVID-19 or any pandemics, to just stop things from getting out of control like it has in Europe and America. One thing though to know is in Japan, the government legally can't just make demands of people to just stay at home. They have to issue a strong request instead, because it's unconstitutional. And so is this hairdo, by the way. So Japan's government was a little slow to react to the whole COVID-19 thing, despite it not really having much of an impact so far. There's been other impacts, and we'll get into that later, such as economic impacts and the Olympics. But so far, folks, Japan's government issued strong requests for people to stay away from bars and stay at home, and most people have abided by that request. But like I said, guys, legally they cannot demand that, like in other countries. With schools all cancelled because of the virus, of course, state of emergency declared all across the country, kids have flocked to the parks where they feel free to enjoy their time playing around outside, all together and all without face masks, which many people could see as a little bit of a risk. That's just an opinion for some people. Here's a shot of one of the busiest highways running through my city. As you can see, it's not very busy at all. There are the occasional car, but this is supposed to be a pretty busy place. With how quiet all the streets are these days, it's afforded a lot of people the opportunity to just play on the roads like they wouldn't have had those opportunities before. The government has started installing these isolation booths in which people possibly infected could make phone calls. Very strange indeed. As for businesses closing over this, there's absolutely no shortage, and you can see just about everything in the middle of the day is completely closed. So here in one of the busiest shopping districts in my city, all the way down, there's not that many people here. There usually are many more, especially at this time flocked with school kids coming home from school, and now it's, as you can see, it's pretty much empty. I mean, not that many people. Many shops are closed. Even Japan's most famous restaurant chain has resorted to closing down and only takeaways allowed. You know it's hit business hard when you can't even grab a drink from your favorite tax-dodging beverage providers. Even Japan's pachinko parlors, many of which are actually run by crime syndicates, are still closing down because of COVID. That's pretty nice of those guys, those Yakuza guys. And guys, I know there's been some jokes about toilet roll shopping in Japan. Well, as you can see, there's still plenty accessible to anybody, okay? It's just a joke. Yeah, there's not really been any toilet roll shortages per se. If you're looking for face masks, however, that's another story. The shelves might look something like this if you're trying to get some. Face masks, despite being the holy grail, have also gone completely out of sale. If they are in stock, they usually go for one box per one person. It's very controlled. They don't stay in stock for very long either. An important point to make on this though, the government isn't able to force businesses to close down. They've requested, like I said before, and many businesses, including mine, have actually stayed open for business. Mine happened to be located inside a shopping mall, and somehow the bosses have pulled some strings to be able to stay open, and they're the only ones who stay open. So I go into a closed shopping center, completely locked off to the public, to do my job. Now we have started shifting our teaching to online teaching. And yeah, even some students do still come in, but they have to come in through the staff entrance. Now many other offices too have started requesting and organizing people to be able to work from home. Something important to talk about with what's happened in Japan is also the Olympics, a major thing that has affected the economy. The Olympics originally was just postponed, actually, after trying to postpone the postponement, if you can imagine it, for quite a while. But eventually the government had to give in, and they did postpone it. Meanwhile, British politicians were coming in, swooping in, trying to underhandedly steal the Olympics from Japan. Even up to a month ago, British politicians were calling for the Olympics to be held in London instead of Japan. Now as things are getting worse, it looks like the Olympic Committee, very Western-based and Western-oriented, doesn't really pay much heed to Japan's economic needs. Of course, it needs the Olympics and has already invested a lot of money into it. And it's postponed until next year as it stands, and Japan is going to have to keep dishing out cash to keep it in shape until next year. However, if the COVID-19 problem isn't solved by 2021, the Olympic Committee may just cancel it entirely. Pokemon Company has really taken it quite seriously. They've closed their Pokemon Center shops, and they've even postponed the opening of brand new Mega Pokemon Center stops. They've shifted their shipping online, so you can still do your Pokemon shopping online, but also the anime has been postponed indefinitely until we hear some more updates. And Game Freak are all working from home. Shinzo Abe originally took a lot of flack for not reacting fast enough, but when he did come back to the public to do something about it, he went pretty hardcore. He banned all foreigners from traveling to Japan, and that's a ban that remains in place as of today. Even though the virus hasn't had that much of an impact on Japan, the economic impact from the reaction is definitely going to be way out of proportion. There's going to be much recovery needed coming in the following few years. Recession is going to be likely, but that is the same for many countries around the world. As for how it's affected me personally, it hasn't really affected me that much. My life has moved on just the same way as it always has. I have YouTube and you guys to thank as well for keeping me feel more secure in this time where jobs are being lost, and so that's okay. Obviously my company has not closed down, so I haven't been hit financially in that regard just yet as well. So still got my job, still working away. On the bright side, guys, summer is right around the corner. It's a very hot spring already, and apparently heat and humidity are good for killing off the virus. So we might not have much longer before this problem is solved here in Japan. As for now, it's looking okay. New cases are down and stable. It hasn't really exploded like it has in Europe or America, so Japan is looking to have been doing the right thing all along, whatever it is doing. Obviously, a lot of this remains still a mystery, so we don't really know how to combat it properly yet. As for the danger or the feeling, a general population seems to be able to just go out just fine, even though things are closing down, and I feel safe enough to be able to go around without a face mask, so it's not too risky at the moment.